Hi, everyone. This is Karen with NewClevelandRadio.net, and it is time for What in the World with Paul Seaburn and his sidekick, JohnDiNallo, and just one day late after we were supposed to record on Tuesday.
Yes.
But I had an emergency, which is all over with. So it's Wednesday now.
Wednesday.
So what in the world are we doing?
Well, the first thing, Karen, by the way, thank you so much for that great introduction. I am Paul Seaburn, and this is What in the World, everybody's favorite weird news podcast, real news, sometimes strange, always funny. And before we go any further, I want to let everyone know who is concerned about Karen, who read my post on Facebook yesterday, or read her post about the emergency, that everything is okay. As she said, 100% better, which means good in her parlance. So forget about that and let's have some fun today.
Absolutely.
Yes. So we're here with some weird news and some weird sports with my good friend JohnDiNallo. Hi, John.
Hi, Paul. Hi, Karen. Even though it's a day late, we're still going to have a high quality show today. So just
high quality. But where have you been?
Well, listen, at least I'm trying. At least I'm trying.
Yes, you are. You do try, Joe. Nobody tries harder than John. And we missed you last week, by the way, John.
I missed you guys too.
Hey, and I won.
Okay.
Well, Karen, I mean, I'm glad you did. I mean, you have to win when I'm not there.
No.
But
For those of you listening, maybe who are new to the show, Karen and John are referring to playing Bluff the Co-host, everybody's favorite weird news game, which we close out every show with. And it's a rousing competition between Karen and John and all of you out there in podcast land. So you come here every week, we hope, to have some fun for an hour, get away from the bad news, the stressful news, business, politics, all that other garbage, and come to visit us for the weird, strange, unusual news from around the world, even around the universe. We get off the planet and into space occasionally with our stories. So I don't know if I have any outer space stories today. I wrote my script yesterday and I've already forgotten what's in it. So bear with me. And I do want, but I have, every week we talk about where you can download the podcast. You can download it from, find out all the information on downloading from NewClevelandRadio.net, which is our platform. You go there, on the top bar, there's a drop-down menu, find my show, click on that. It tells you all the places to download it. Apple, Spotify, all the places. We're everywhere. We're free. Also go to YouTube, because on YouTube, you can see us, but more importantly, you can see some of the photos that I include with some of the stories. And I always try to explain them, but it's always fun to take a look at some of the more strange and unusual things we talk about. I also ask everyone to follow us, like us, do whatever the particular platform suggests, to let us know that you're there. And you guys have been doing that, which I really appreciate. So I want to do some shout outs. I had to write them down. There's so many of them. To Ray listens to us all the time. Great to hear from you again, Ray. Brian, John and I both know Brian. Brian, thanks for listening. Don in Cleveland. We have so many Dons following us. Now I have to differentiate. So Don in Cleveland, my old high school buddy. Mike down in Houston. Mike is an old friend of mine. He's a former police officer and a comedian. Very, very funny comedian. So I found out Mike is listening to the podcast. And then we have just all the Lindas in the world listen to What in the World, including Linda in Brecksville. She's hopping along, so I'm glad to hear you're doing good, Linda. Linda in Houston, which is Tex Chick, and also a new listener, another old friend of mine from when I was in the computer business, Linda in the Hill Country. So way out in the Hill Country, they can pick up What in the World. So how about that? This is something we'll have to explain why that's a big deal to the kids who don't understand distance anymore, when distance used to mean something.
And if they're listening right now, okay, as we're recording live, if they go to the comment section, I just put in the the link so that they can actually be on the show today.
Oh, great. Okay.
So we
super.
could have hundreds of people,
Hundreds.
laughing with us.
There we go. There we go. Well, let's get started because without further ado, as they say in France, what are we talking about today? We've got a world record diamond ring from India. Wait till you see this. This is great. A killer crab in Japan. And you can never guess how crabs can kill you. So you want to stay tuned for that. The world's cheapest swimming pool from England, where they need swimming pools, obviously, to cool off. This is for our Italian friends like John. They found spaghetti on Mars. So, and I have photographs. So,
well, I'm interested in that, obviously.
there you go. And obviously, okay, you'll be hungry by the time the show's over, John.
Okay.
Oh, speaking of food, why people in California are suing Skittles, the people who make Skittles. And then a great sports story. Not one of John's. This is more of a paranormal one. When the Loch Ness Monster shut down night soccer in Scotland. This is a story that just came out. It happened in the 1930s. Very interesting what happened there, that the actual Loch Ness Monster shut down nighttime sports. And a magic mirror in Cincinnati. We like to talk about local story. Cincinnati's in Ohio. They found a magic mirror in a museum and it really works in Cincinnati. So I've got some pictures of that. So it should be some fun. More trivia, more records. Strange with JohnDiNallo. John's got another great strange sport for us this week. And something
we have somebody joining us.
If somebody joining us, wow.
Oh, a bunch of people are joining us.
Okay,
that's okay.
So let's get started. But I hope we didn't create a monster, as they say in the business here. So while we're doing all this, let's get right to our first story here: the world record diamond ring. This comes from India, of all places. So there's a company called SWA Diamonds in India. They set a Guinness World Record for the largest number of diamonds in a single ring. Get ready, 24,600.
That's so cool, actually.
Are we?
Okay, if you're part of our audience, we ask you that you mute yourself until we call on you. Thank you.
But that's so cool. That's actually really interesting. Can I learn more about it?
Not at this moment in time. Okay, keep going, Paul.
So while we're doing that, let's take a look at this ring here. Thank you for tuning in, by the way. I believe that's probably the person whose name is Cute Anime. Oh, yes. No, we don't want this. Yeah. Let's, this looks like a bad idea.
I'm getting rid of it right now, and I will report it. Thank you.
Yeah, I think, okay. We'll
we may never do this again.
I know. Yeah, that's a good idea. Okay. I don't know. I can't get the image off of there, so I'm going to take this down. But take a quick look there for something other than the drawing. That is an actual ring, okay, with over 24,000 diamonds on it. And I'm going to take that down here.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah. So
24,000. Oh my God.
24,000 diamonds. Yeah, John. So Pete Davidson, I don't know if you know Pete Davidson from Saturday Night Live. He's dating one of the Kardashians. So he quit Saturday Night Live. Then she saw the ring. So now he's begging for his job back because obviously he's going to have to buy it for her. It's called the AMI, A-M-I, which is Sanskrit for immortality, which is probably how long you're going to have to work in order to
afford it. Right.
Yeah. No. So the thing, it looks enormous, but it actually weighs only 12 ounces, which, I mean, that's still a lot of weight to have on your hand all day long. But get a load of the price. Now, you saw the picture before it was drawn upon. How much would you think that ring would be selling for, Karen and John?
Well, it's pretty ugly, but since it is diamonds,
Yes.
Probably about 1.5 million.
1.5 million. Okay, good guess. John, how about you?
Yeah, it's got to be north of $1 million for sure.
More than $1 million. Okay.
Yeah, let's go north of $1 million, and I'll
Yeah,
just
but
keep it general.
$1 million and $1 more than what Karen said.
Okay.
This is like the Price is Right. Okay, so both of you are way off. You're way over. Actual retail price, $95,243, which means those are really, really tiny diamonds.
Yeah, they must be for 95K. Yeah.
Yeah,
Really.
95,000. Elon Musk could buy them all up and put them on Teslas for hood ornaments.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. Do that.
So so that's the world's largest, most diamond rings, most diamonds on a ring. The largest single diamond, which is probably closer to what you're thinking of, is the Cullinan diamond, which was discovered in South Africa in 1905. The owner of the mine was Thomas Cullinan, so it's named for him. 3,106 carats in the uncut state, which is 1 1/3 pounds. So that's like, I don't know, that's probably the size of one of our heads, or maybe even all three of us put together. I'm not sure. So they sent it to England. I thought this was great. They gave it to King Edward VII of England, the government of what the country was, Transvaal, which is now South Africa. And so the king takes it to his royal diamond cutter. Joseph Osher is his name. So Joseph, the king tells him to make me some nice diamonds out of this, Joe. And they said when he struck the first time to split the diamond, he passed out. So from the stress, which so anyways, he got 10 diamonds out of it. And the largest one is the 530 carat Great Star of Africa. So little bit of information.
It's an interesting story. Yeah.
Big diamonds, yeah.
So just in case you didn't know this, we do have a very special guest with us.
Oh,
Your
I
friend
see.
Simon.
Simon, the high-priced import from England by way of Texas, or Texas by way of England. So let's say hello to Simon. Simon is a regular listener of the podcast, by the way. So thanks for tuning in, Simon. Work on some theme music for us while you're here.
Oh, yeah.
Simon's a phenomenal musician. So that might be a nice project for him. We'll send you a What in the World coffee mug. Or
I'll have one made up right away.
Be the first one that will go out.
There you go. There you go. Okay, now we're going to have to put up another photo here. Let's see if I can. That's interesting. Okay. All right. So let's get back to now. So this story comes from Indiana. Let's see if we can get a better picture here. So this guy in Indiana, he claims I saw a picture of him. He's got a very well-built physique. He claims he got ripped into that kind of shape from running on all fours like a dog, 30 to 45 minutes a day, every day for a year. Now, he's, I've got in case you don't believe it, there he is. He's running. It looks like he may even be barefoot. He's bent over. His back is parallel to the ground, and he puts his hands in front of him and his feet behind him and runs along the ground. So that's what he says. He says that he got into shape by doing this. Actually, what they later pointed out was that's what he told the police when they came to the gym, and he was humping this one lady's leg, and she said, "Please get this guy off of me." Yeah.
Boy, you just turned this into an X-rated show.
I know. Yeah. What did I? That's not what I said in the script. What I said was he was doing deep knee bends against her leg. There.
Okay. All right. Okay.
But this is this is a real story. He actually says that that's what he does. I can't imagine that the dogs at the dog park would let someone in doing that. But so where else does he run? I don't know if he runs up and down his street or on his neighbor's lawns. Now, I have done this. I can walk on all fours for like maybe a second or two. But it's but I'm not like a dog. I'm more like a turtle. I go real slow, and then I tip over and I roll on my back and then I can't get up again. So this is not a thing for normal people to do. And I don't know if there's any gyms that actually offer this training. Gold's Gym, probably not. Golden Retriever Gym, maybe. Where's the
very good, very good.
Bigfoot weighs in on that one. Yeah. So anyways, all right. This one freaked me out here. I have, most of us aren't doing much traveling anymore, but for those who are, it's very stressful, and not just for the reasons you might think. Air Canada had to delay a fully booked flight leaving from Denver back to Canada recently because, and we're all suffering from the heat. It was too hot for the plane to safely take off until they removed, get ready for this, 25 people from the plane. So they figured out that that's how much excess weight was holding the plane down from taking off in the excess heat. 25 people.
Wow.
Now, that's a lot of people. And so it took a long time to find volunteers. Spirit Airlines, on the other hand, that never happens for Spirit. If they don't think they can take off, they just tell everybody to lean back in your seat real far, and the nose picks up and off they go, But it took them hours and hours of offering free gifts in order to entice people to leave. If I was on that plane and they told me that it's too hot to take off, I'd be off that plane. They didn't even have to give me anything. I'd be off that plane immediately, looking for an Avis counter. Give me anything with air conditioning. I'll drive to Canada. I don't care.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, and not to make light of it, because there's a lot of people suffering from the heat wave in Europe, and especially in England. But one of the weirder stories was that the runways in England on some of the major airports are actually melting from the heat. They use an odd kind of asphalt that is not as resistance to heat as the asphalt is at airports in the United States. So you can Google it, take a look at it. They're actually, people standing around, like a construction site in the United States, standing around smoking cigarettes, looking at the runway as it melts, trying to figure out what they're going to do. Yeah, unbelievable. Okay, so we're talking about we're moving to Japan with the next story, and I mentioned this in our opening. There are killer crabs in Japan, but you would not believe how they kill you. So this man is camping in Japan, and he says he fell asleep after setting up his tent and got inside, and he's on Okinawa Island in Japan. And at 2:00 in the morning, he looks at his watch. He hears scratching outside the tent. Now, if that were the United States, we would assume that it was Bigfoot. It was not Bigfoot. He opens up the door, the flap, and this is what he sees. He sees a giant crab holding a knife in its claw. Yes.
Wow.
Holding a knife in one of its claws, and one of his knives, apparently. So he says he didn't know what to do. He had no boiling water. That's like I get a pot of boiling water and say, you give me that knife or you're going in here. He found a nutcracker, and that's what scared it, because he said, you put that down or I'm going after your claws. But he actually had to pull the knife away from this giant crab. And these crabs, they could get up to 9 pounds and 3 feet in length. So, wow. I mean, that's 3 feet long. That's a crab that can hold a sword. Not one of these little knives like this guy, a little steak knife. But
it's a hideous looking crab too.
Yeah.
No kidding. Yeah, well, crabs are not the nicest looking creatures, which doesn't stop us from eating them. But I think once a rock fell on one of them, and a prehistoric man said, "Oh, that looks good," and reached into the shell and started eating it. That was the end of crab. Us worrying about whether crabs are ugly or not. Let's just chow down. But so the other thing is that these king crabs are known for stealing things. Eventually they put it all together, is that the crab was just looking for something to steal, and the first thing he found was the knife, which to me would make this crab a great character for the next Ocean's 11 movie, Ocean's 13 or 14.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, he'd be a perfect extra character.
Sure.
George Clooney lets him loose, Danny Ocean, whatever his name is, he lets him loose in some building, and he can go underneath all the laser detection systems and run in and grab the diamonds and run back out again. Maybe he could get one of those 26,000 diamond rings, and we could tie 3 or 4 stories together
wow,
here.
yeah.
Possibility.
Future of what in the world. Okay, let's speaking of crabs, a little great segue here. This comes from New Hampshire. The Tamworth Distilling Company in New Hampshire is helping the state get rid of invasive crabs. So someone had some pet crabs, some pet green crabs in New Hampshire, and when the crab got too big for their little crab receptacle or aquarium, they let them loose or flushed them down the toilet, and now they're an invasive species in New Hampshire. So the Tamworth Distillery comes to the rescue, and they are now turning invasive green crabs into crab trapper whiskey. This is right up your alley, John. Crab trapper whiskey.
Oh my God. Look at
Made
that.
from each one, a pound of green crabs in every bottle.
Wow.
That's an interesting slogan.
Yeah, pound of green crabs in every bottle.
Mhm.
Back in the old days, first you drank the whiskey first, and then you got crabs while you were drunk. But I'm just wondering, what ales with crab whiskey? I'm thinking maybe a Rusty Claw, or possibly a Crab Roy. How about that?
Crab Roy instead of a Rob Roy. Okay.
Crab Roy, there you go. Yeah, or a Tom and Krabby, which I believe is like Tom and Jerry. Tom and Jerry, yes. I barely know my cocktails here. So, anyways, crab whiskey, soon to be available at all fine liquor stores in your area. Now, one more crustacean story, and this one comes from Florida, where we get just so many weird stories. An extremely rare, I'm going to put a picture up here. I talked about this on Facebook earlier this week. An orange lobster, extremely rare orange lobster, was delivered in a big, vat of lobsters. However, Red Lobster gets their lobsters, and fortunately, the chef found it before dumping it into the pot of boiling water. It was still alive, and they managed to rescue it and take it to an aquarium. And they named it Cheddar for Red Lobster's famous Cheddar Bay biscuit that everybody loves.
Oh.
Yeah, not for the color, but for the Cheddar Bay biscuit. Lobster doesn't like the name Cheddar, but he's glad they stopped calling him Special, because you don't want to be called Special at Red Lobster.
How do you know when it's cooked if it's already red?
It's orange. I don't know. That's a good question. I was wondering that myself. If you cook an orange lobster, what color does it become?
Yeah.
It's a thought to ponder.
Yep.
There are blue lobsters, also rare, but the orange lobster is the most rare of the rare lobsters, coming in at 1 in 30 million. So your chance of catching 1 in 30 million. That's right. So what the chef should have done before he gave it away, he should have went and bought one of those scratch off lottery tickets and had this lucky lobster scratch off the numbers with its claw. Lucky
Sounds
lobster. Odds are about the same of winning on either one of them. Okay, another water related story here. This is we got some trivia here for you, John. So be ready. So this guy is swimming off the coast of Greece. Cassandra is the city in Greece, and he gets caught up in the current, and he gets washed away from the shore, and he can't swim back, and he's afraid he's going to drown. Fortunately, something floated up near him that he could grab onto, and what floated up was a small inflatable ball, which one of these people is holding right here. So he managed to catch the ball and held on to it for 18 hours until the people who were searching for him finally found him floating. And he was rescued by helicopter and taken to the local hospital, which is where the photograph of that ball was taken. Odd looking ball. The first question I had is, who's going to play Tom Hanks in this movie, or who is Tom Hanks going to play? One or the other. What movie was that, by the way, John, with Tom Hanks and the ball?
It was Castaway.
Castaway, that's right. What kind of ball was it?
Soccer ball, I believe.
Volleyball.
No, volleyball.
Volleyball.
There
Sorry.
you go.
Okay,
Thank you,
right,
Karen.
okay.
I believe I have a photograph of the volleyball right there. There he is. What was his name?
Wilson.
Wilson. That's right. You could read it on here.
Yeah, right. Exactly. If you look close, right?
Yeah. So believe it or not, that movie, and I guess it was around 2000. In 2001, Wilson, the ball, won the Critics' Choice Award for Best Inanimate Object in a Movie. Yeah, I thought that was great. So how long was Tom Hanks? How long was he cast away? How long was he lost on the island before he finally was rescued?
I think it was well over a year, I thought, right?
Well over a year, yeah. Karen could say a year and
yeah.
a day. And she would win because he was on it for 4 years, 4 long years with nothing to talk to but Wilson, which is that his bloody handprint on the
Right.
the ball. Now, from what I understand, the original Wilson was lost. Many people have claimed to have the original Wilson. You can buy this particular ball at the Wilson Sporting Goods website for $21.95. But what happened on opening day this year for the Cleveland Guardians, John? I don't know. Were you there that day?
I was not at that game, no, and I'm not familiar with this story, so you'll have to inform me.
Okay. So for many significant games like opening day, they bring in someone special to throw out the first pitch. Karen, you remember that?
Tom Hanks threw out the first pitch.
Tom Hanks threw out the first pitch.
Wilson was with him on the mound.
That's right.
Yeah.
So here's a guy. Now, I love Tom Hanks. I enjoy all of his movies. Here's a guy, though, who is not ashamed to be tied to such silly things like that. He made a lot of money off of it. He could say, no, I'm not going to do I'm going to make a fool out of myself. He actually, I think he made it to the catcher on one bounce. So
yeah,
that's actually pretty good for most people who throw out the first pitch. But what was really nice, there was a trick ball. And as he attempted to throw to the catcher, Wilson started rolling around all by itself.
Yep.
So a very funny thing to watch. Google it. It was very entertaining. So there's a little bit of trivia, courtesy of What in the World, on Castaway, the movie with Tom Hanks. Now, we've been talking about the heat. Guy in England found a very inexpensive way to beat the heat while he's in England. He has made a fortune selling portable plunge pools. That's what he calls them. They are individual pools, plunge pools. That's what they call them. He says you can fill it within 5 minutes. It's available in black, brown, or green, and you can get a family-sized plunge pool in red. Now, let's take a look at one of these plunge pools here. Now, what he's sitting in is a garbage bin.
Oh, yeah.
But he's actually selling these things. You fill it up with a hose. Now, if you're kinky, you put the hose in there with you, and it just turns into a jacuzzi. The only thing he doesn't show, though, is how he gets out. I can see getting in if it's empty. Before you put the water in, you can climb into a garbage can. But once it's full of water, how does he get out? Does he have a little step stool in there? Does he tilt himself over and fall to the ground? Or
that is totally ridiculous.
Well, here's a question. Wait, here's a question. So have these garbage cans been used?
Oh,
Oh, I don't know. That's a
Think of
good
that.
question.
Think
Yeah, I
of-
would.
wait a minute. That's
Yeah, no, I think he's
It's
a
ridiculous.
middleman. He goes down to the local Home Depot
I
and
hope he does that.
yeah.
Who in their
And
right
then he-
mind would want to sit in a garbage can that's been used with water?
no, he wouldn't do it. Look at him. He looks like a fairly nice guy there.
Hopefully.
He's got he buys them, he buys them in bulk and he writes his little logo on there and his slogan, portable plunge pools from Joe or whatever his name is, and and sells them. It's a nice little business for the guy. And believe it or not, he's not the only one, because when I was getting the story together, I Googled this. And it turns out a lot of people do this in England. It's a big thing to do. The plunge pool made with a basically just sitting in a garbage can and filling it up. So if it gets any hotter in the United States, you could see this happening. My only concern is if it's garbage day. I think that's John's concern too. And the guys come by and they don't notice that you're just soaking. You're next thing you know, you're on your way to the dump. Which would make it a whole lot easier for you. Maybe that's how he gets out. He rolls himself down to the curb and waits for the garbage collectors to.
Yeah, they come by and they take them out. Right. Oh, oh my Lord.
All right. So I know John's been waiting for the spaghetti story. So let's get right to that.
Yeah,
So,
I'm excited. Let me hear it.
there you go. Okay. So we don't know if there's life on Mars. We haven't proven that yet. But now we know that there is spaghetti on Mars. And let's see if I got a picture of it here. There we go. So we got spaghetti. There's a picture of a small ball of spaghetti. This was taken by the Perseverance rover, which is currently making its grand tour around the red planet. And it looks up in the sky. It looks up on the horizon. It also looks on the ground in front of it to make sure it doesn't roll over any living creatures. And it happened to see this ball of spaghetti on the ground. Now, they call it the red planet, but that doesn't look like a red background. I was thinking maybe it would be kind of like a red sauce. I don't know. There's no meatballs nearby. There's a rock. When I've made meatballs that turned out like rocks. What do you think, John? Does it look like something you would go to Mars and have a plate of?
No, it looks really. I mean, it resembles what you think of traditional spaghetti, right? But it's I don't know.
Really? Is that how spaghetti looks when you make it at your house?
No, when I make it, we try to make it look reasonably uniform, right? I mean, this is I don't know. And what is the scale of this? That's what's hard to determine.
Good question.
I mean,
that's the problem with all these Mars photographs. Things that look like they're giant buildings are actually some little rock that.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
So I dubbed this fettuccine Mars Fredo. But
does Bigfoot have an opinion on that one?
Yeah, Bigfoot moans on that. Bigfoot moans on everything these days. That Bigfoot, we need to get Bigfoot an attitude adjustment.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
But it looks like it could be some string or shredded wheat or something. What it actually is, it's actually a piece of the Mars rover or the landing gear. When the Mars rover landed, I don't know if you remember this, it's in like a little spacecraft that's on a parachute, and it got down to a certain altitude, and then the container opened up, and Perseverance made it the rest of the way down, and then the compartment that it was in blew off to the side so they wouldn't run into it, and they think that this is a piece of the descent capsule or whatever it's called, which means that now there's junk all over Mars. And this is the first time. There was another story a couple weeks ago where another piece of the spaceship was found by Perseverance leaning against the rock. So you know me, I'm always looking for ways to make money here. So I'm thinking this is a perfect opportunity for NASA to team up with the Federal Department of Corrections. And what they're going to do is they're going to get volunteers from the prisons. If you don't want to do your community service on Earth, we'll fly you to Mars. We'll give you the plastic bags. We'll give you those long sticks with the pointy end. And you can go there and collect trash on Mars and be the first Mars colonist. So how about that? Become famous and work off your sentence at the same time.
I guess helping the community in Mars as opposed to the community in Earth. Right?
There you go. I bet you Martians would appreciate that.
Yeah, I bet they would. Martian to Martian, I think, right?
I don't know. We'll be waiting to see if we get any notices from Mars on that. Okay, so are you a fan of Skittles, John and Karen, and people out there in podcast land?
Karen, go ahead.
No, not a fan of Skittles. Well, and neither am I. I can take them or leave them. If I get them for free when I go out for Halloween, I'll, I don't mind. I'll eat them. Class action lawsuit was filed in Oakland, California this week by a person who alleged that Skittles are unsafe for consumers because they contain heightened levels of titanium oxide. Now, I told this to my friend Homer, and Homer said, titanium oxide. Homer Simpson, the very poor impression of Homer. This is why I don't do impression. If Bigfoot went to the bathroom, otherwise he'd be moaning on that one. Believe it or not, titanium oxide is added to Skittles to give those bright, vibrant colors that you have on candy. Which, then they give you information that you really didn't want to know, especially if you're currently chowing down on a handful of Skittles. Titanium oxide is also used in paint, adhesives, plastics, and roofing material, and can cause DNA, brain, and organ damage, as well as lesions on the liver and kidneys. In other words, same thing that happens to you when you eat hot dogs or watch cable news. It's not good for you. It's bad. So, believe it or not, the regular amount of oxide that can be in Skittles by weight, I think it should not exceed 1% of the food's weight. Now, you know how big a bag of Skittles is. You've seen them in the store. How many ounces do you think are in a bag of Skittles?
I don't know, 4, 5.
This is turning into
maybe like 1.2.
Oh, that's closer. Yeah, you're right. 2.17 ounces. Less than an eighth of a pound. When we were kids, you remember this, we used to get like 10 pounds of Skittles for 10 cents. So, now how much 2.17 ounce, I think, is $1. So you pay $1 for that little bag of Skittles. I don't want to sound like an old guy here, but that's an awful lot for Skittles. Yes. Okay, let's get to the sports story. So John was off for a week last week. We didn't get to hear his sports story. So in his place, I found a sports story that we're going to talk about now, and then we'll get to John's story for the week. So this happened this is a legitimate story from Scotland, and I don't have any photographs here, so we'll just listen here. This comes from the Inverness Courier, which is the paper of record in Inverness, which is where the Loch Ness is. So they're doing research on the history of soccer teams in the Inverness area, and they found information on the first night soccer game in Inverness. Occurred in 1933, and they put up 3 poles, and they put floodlights on the top of the poles. There was a 2,500 people in the crowd. So very popular. March 23rd, 1933, Caledonian beat Clatchnacudin, and I'm sure I mangled that. Caledonian won 2-1. Okay, so 3 1,000 candle power lamps, which, if you go down to the where the Guardians play, I'm guessing that's like, 1/1,000,000th of the brightness that you've got on the field now. But the fans didn't complain. They interviewed some of the fans. They said, "Oh, it was great. You could follow the ball." They used a white ball, and they said it very quickly got turned gray, and they couldn't see it. So they had to have a ball boy run out every few minutes and wipe off the soccer ball. So it was so popular that they immediately started scheduling more night games. So this is 1933. Night soccer becomes the thing to do in Inverness, Scotland, until April 14th, 1933. So what happened on that date? They're working on the freeway that drives past the Loch Ness, A82 it's called, Fort William Road, Inverness Fort William Road. So it's finished, and this couple, Mrs. Aldi McKay and her husband, who are the owners of the Drumnod Grochen. Boy, I really mangled that. It's a famous hotel in Scotland. She's driving with her husband, and all of a sudden they look out into the loch, and what do they see? She says a tremendous upheaval on the loch, which had previously been calm. Then the creature disported itself, rolling and plunging for fully a minute, its body resembling that of a whale, and the whale cascading and churning like a simmering cauldron. Very eloquent lady, by the way. Soon it disappeared in a boiling mass of foam. So the lady and her wife reported it immediately, and it got picked up by the Inverness Courier, the newspaper that we're quoting right here. And that was the first recording of the Loch Ness Monster since the Saint Columban found it in like 900 AD. So this started the new hunt for the Loch Ness Monster. So what happens is that people start flocking to Loch Ness because they want to see the monster. Everybody wants to see the monster. The lady who owns the hotel, she obviously wants people to come because they stay at her hotel, which is right on Loch Ness. So unfortunately, that means that there's a lot of accidents and a lot of people complaining that they can't see the monster at night. So what do? They go to the soccer field and they take the lights down and install them next to Loch Ness. And that was the end of night soccer in Inverness, Scotland until 1959. That's when they brought it back.
Wow.
And yet they still haven't found the Loch Ness Monster. So even though they looked for another 30 some years, they looked and put more lights up, never found it, finally said, screw it, we want to play night soccer again. So they put some new lights up. 1959, the first game was Caledonian again, lost to Old Firm Select from Glasgow. So the out-of-towners came in and beat the local home team. 6,000 people watched it, John. So
wow.
that tells you how popular night soccer is.
Popular at the time.
Oh, you better believe it. Okay, so now I've got a local story here before we get to John's story on sports. This one comes from Cincinnati. So I mentioned Magic Mirror. What movie or what fairy tale does that remind you of?
Sleeping Beauty.
Oh, Sleeping Beauty. No, wrong answer.
No.
Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all?
I get a brain block on this one.
It's the heat. It's the heat, folks. If it's hot,
no.
it's
Well, it's not Cinderella.
not Cinderella. No.
And it's not Snow White.
Snow White. There you go. Yeah, John, I'm disappointed. You didn't know Snow White, or did you?
I knew it,
mumble
but
it under your breath. That's right. Who's the Brothers Grimm, the famous Brothers Grimm fairy tale? It made Disney millions. That was their first big animated film. However, the Cincinnati Art Museum in Cincinnati, Ohio, has a real magic mirror, and that's the story we're going to talk about. It's from China, and they call it a ancient transparent mirror. It actually, what the Chinese believed was that if you beamed light from behind, it would go right through the mirror and shine on the wall, and whatever was on the back of the mirror would appear on the wall. So the curator at the museum is going through. You know how museums are, John. I know you love to go to museums.
I do love to go to museums.
Yeah, what you see on display is like a 10th or 100th of what they have in in storage somewhere.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah. So this curator's going through the storage area, and she sees this little round thing, oval thing on a shelf, and she picks it up and she recognizes it as a magic mirror dating back to the Han Dynasty in 200 BC in China. So it's made out of bronze. I've got a picture of one here while I'm talking about it. Let's see. We get rid of the spaghetti. And we'll move on to, there you go. So there's the magic mirror, and there's the curator. I'll mention her name, Hao Mei Sung. So Hao Mei, if you're listening, there's your plug. We're looking for sponsors. We'll take the museum.
Sure.
The mirror's made of polished brass. Before the modern technology, they would take thin sheets of brass and polish it so that you could see the reflection. The technology goes back to 2900 BC, so it's an old technology. So what happened, though, is that as the alchemists who invented it are polishing it, this is old equipment. So they start to bring up little imperfections on the shiny surface, which beam against the wall. But what's really interesting is that the more they polished it, the engraving on the back, they only polished one side. The engraving on the back would the pressure would push through, and whatever picture was on the back would it not visibly, but would press through on the shiny side. So this particular one has a picture of Buddha on it, and had a picture of Buddha on it. And this is what it looks like. So when you shine a light at the mirror, which looks perfectly blank, and it shows up on the wall, there's an illuminated photo of Buddha. So they have all kind of examples of it, with Chinese writing on the back and the Chinese writing. So naturally, people in 200 BC were just mesmerized by this.
That doesn't look like Buddha. If you look really, really close, it looks like a bricklayer. Seriously.
I was afraid you were going to say it looked like John. No, it doesn't look like John.
No, I'm not even close.
No.
It looked like John when he had hair.
Wait a second. It keeps changing.
Well, the problem is, the problem is that the back no longer shows Buddha. They put a false back on it, and it's got some Chinese letters on it. But so what did so we know Snow White said. I think I've got one. Do I have one more photo of that? No, I think that's it. So Snow White said, mirror, mirror, and it wasn't Snow White. It was the evil stepmother.
Yes.
Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all?
Yep.
In fact, she was the queen. She was the evil queen. So that appeared, those lines appeared in Grimm's fairy tale called Sneewittchen in German in 1812. Very, very brutal, very bloody story, like all Grimm Brothers stories were, that Disney had to clean up in order to make some money on it. So when the mirror says to the evil queen that all of a sudden Snow White's the fairest of them all, she gets mad, so she goes after her and gives her the poison apple. Now, that particular story, which became Snow White, has been translated in hundreds of languages. And in each language, it gets changed and translated slightly differently. So in some of them, instead of a mirror, she asked the sun or the moon. In some of them, the mirror is broken at the end. But ultimately the purpose is the same. It tells the queen the truth, that she's no longer the fairest person in the kingdom. It's
I'm
Snow
gonna
White.
cry. See the story. Oh, okay.
Sneewittchen, that's right. Yeah. So I don't know. So what do you think? Do you think the mirror in Cincinnati deserves to be called a magic mirror?
Well, I keep seeing different things in it the more you stare at it.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah. So you're not having flashbacks or anything.
And Paul, yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Oh, so if you stare at it, you see different things. Wow. Well, I have to do that. Yeah. So I don't know. It's I thought that was an interesting story. It's on display if you're looking for an interesting trip, John. The Cincinnati
not that far
Museum,
away. I'm familiar with the city. Yeah, exactly.
Cincinnati Art Museum, they have it on display for
Thanks.
the rest
Thanks
of
for the
the
heads up.
season. Yeah.
Appreciate that, Paul. Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought that was I don't know what my next, oh, no, we don't want that one there. It's okay. So, all right. So at this point, I told my sports story. John is back this week. So that means that we've got What in the World of Sports with JohnDiNallo this week. Every week, as you, the followers of the podcast know, I ask John to come up with, and John is a huge sports fan, which is why I asked him to do this, come up with a strange and unusual sport for us to talk about on What in the World. And he never fails to find something unusual. I also ask him to find something that we might participate in. And sometimes they do, sometimes we don't want to have anything to do with these sports. I'm not sure about this week's sports. So why don't you tell us what the sport is this week, John, and I'll get our photographs lined up.
That sounds good, Paul. Thanks. This sport actually is not as weird and unusual as a lot of the sports we've done recently, but it is different. So the sport is jousting. And
I know what that is. I think.
Okay, I think most of us know what jousting is. But
Yeah.
anyways, but
Karen, were you riding a horse at?
Yeah, I'm jousting on my horse.
For those of you who can't see, here's a reason to watch YouTube. Karen was pretending to ride a horse. That's worth the price of admission.
That is.
Oh, I'm sorry, John. Okay, so getting back to real jousting.
Well, it turns out that jousting is the official state sport of Maryland.
Really?
Yeah, so it's not crabbing or complaining about the Orioles. It's jousting. It's the official sport. And no, not the medieval and awful fatal kind of jousting either.
Oh.
Maryland jousting involves skewering a ring with a lance while riding a horse at a high speed. Let me explain. The sport first made its way from England to Maryland thanks to the influence of colonial Maryland's first governor, Cecil Calvert, and then later his son, Charles. Jousting really took off in Maryland around the time of the Civil War, and this is when tournaments became popular in farming communities. Originally, it was used as a fundraiser after the war as a way for the gentry class to raise funds for the community.
Okay.
And it turned into a sport where the farmers that had stock horses could ride as well. So they kind of opened up the field, so to speak. And in 1962, that Maryland named jousting as its official state sport.
Wow,
which it is. Now,
we have a photograph up here of the charter members of the Maryland Jousting Tournament Association in 1950. And for those of you who look at this on YouTube, I want to point out that they apparently were in period costume. Two of the ladies have pointy hats on that look a little bit, yeah, I'm not sure, a little bit like they may have been in the Klan before they were jousters. I don't know.
Just that thinking or that view, I should say.
Yeah, but okay, so they ride horses and they stab through these little rings.
Right. Now, the modern sport takes its inspiration from a form of joust training where knights back in the day would ride at speed and then try to get their lance through the hanging ring. And in ring jousting, as it is sometimes called, the idea is the same, although the rules are a bit more strict. Let me explain.
Okay. So they are on a horse.
Yes, they are
carrying a lance.
They're carrying a lance.
They're just not running at each other.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
But, so during a ring joust, a rider holding a sharply pointed lance gets to take 3 runs down an 80-yard track, and then he will pass under a trio of arches along the way. A small ring hangs from each arch 6 feet and 9 inches above the ground, and the goal is to spear as many as you can in the limited amount of time that you have. That's a very good picture describing or showing the size of the rings.
Yeah,
now,
some of them look pretty easy.
Oh yeah, and then as you can see, there's some that are very, very tiny and again present more of a challenge. To that point, the size of the ring and the allotted time to make it down the track are determined by the level of competition. in the professional class, riders only have 8 to 9 seconds to collect rings with an inside diameter, which is just an inch.
Wow.
While in the novice class, on the other hand, where the rings have a diameter of 1 3/4 inches, riders can take as long as they need, as long as they are moving faster than a walk.
So that would be us.
Yes, that would be us. We would be in that category, Paul. Yes, we would.
That's right.
So no matter the class, though, in case of a tie, the size of the rings is reduced until there is a winner. So it is
Okay.
a true competition.
Sounds like a fun sport. All right.
I think so. Now, Marylanders from a wide range of backgrounds and ages participate in the sport, with some jousters starting as young as 3 years old.
Wow.
Wow.
On a horse.
Right, on a horse. And those who
Maybe a
stick
pony.
with it, well, sure.
Okay.
So now those who stick with it can rise to up to compete in the Maryland State Jousting Championships, which is an
We
annual
were just talking
contest
about, yeah.
that takes place on the first Saturday in October. So a beautiful fall day, and we have jousting. Now,
Yeah. Wow.
to summarize things, if you're planning to hold a jousting tournament in your state,
Yeah.
remember to start it properly. First, everyone stands and sings the national anthem.
Right.
Then they stay standing to sing Ring-a-Ding-a-Ding by Frank Sinatra. And I think that's an interesting twist on a tradition.
I love it.
Ring a ding ding. Right. Old Blue Eyes.
Again, apologies to Frank Sinatra. He
That
is the
was-
chairman of the board. He is the
That
chairman of the board.
alone.
Leave it at that. Just leave it at that.
I would go just for the singing. The so amateur jousting, the state sport of Maryland. You know, I was looking for some other state sports. I thought that'd be a fun thing for us to talk about in the future. There, not many states have a state sport. So
That is true, Paul. I do know that from my research. That is correct.
yeah, congratulations to Maryland. The
Right.
for picking jousting. And a fun version of jousting.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Not creating any harm or anything like that. It's
That's right. That's
hard-
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I often, John and I have known each other since college. And, John sometimes forgets that way back then, we participated in a lot of unusual things, particularly in our fraternity. And I don't know if you remember this, John, but we were actually in a weird form of jousting while we were in college.
Refresh my memory.
Well, it was at a picnic.
Okay, we had a few of
At a
those.
picnic.
We had a
and
few of those. Yeah.
We thought it would be fun. Someone apparently heard about Maryland jousting. We couldn't find any spears, so we took whatever we could use to make as a spear. And we couldn't find any rings, so we just so happened to have something that was ring shaped that we used. And I don't know if you remember this. This was at the end of the tournament here.
Oh, sure. Well, there's always an incentive with food at the end.
I believe that's right. I believe John collected the most onion rings on his sharpened stick, and we ended up feasting after that. So,
truth be told, I'm a very big onion ring aficionado.
oh, you are. That's true. You are.
Yeah.
So, what do you think? That picture, does that look like a good plate of O-rings?
That's a pretty good plate of O-rings. Yeah, goes back to when I was growing up. We always used to try to get onion rings instead of French fries, and we always had onions. I mean, and I still like onions to this day for what that's worth.
There you go. There you go. All right. Yeah, they could use a little more batter, but anyway.
Yeah,
all right. So, jousting, the Maryland state sport. I want to mention that sport was suggested by none other than Karen Hale, our producer and media mogul.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Karen.
Thank you for telling me all about it. Yes.
I want to thank Karen for keeping her eye open for unusual sport. And for our next episode, I have a sport that I think Karen will like too. So we're going to return the favor to her. So anyways, at the end of sports, that means it's time for Bluff the co-host, everybody's favorite weird news game. 3 stories similar to the ones we've been talking about. Big difference is those were true. The stories in Bluff, the co-host may or may not be true. They may be bluffs, and it's up to John, Karen, and those of you playing at home to figure out which is which. Wagering is allowed. Hands on the buzzer, Karen and John. Let's get right to story number 1. Well, some people like to show how hot it is by cooking on the sidewalk or on the hoods of their cars. A man in Siberia posted a YouTube video that shows him freezing foods on the sidewalk and on the hood of his car in the frigid Siberian cold. Ivan, his name, runs a small restaurant in the far northern Siberia that is known for its tasty frozen treats. So one afternoon, he bundled up, took his pans and ingredients out to the parking lot, and made ice cream, frozen peanut butter pie, lemon icebox cake, and frozen cheesecake with vodka and cherry topping, all on the hood of his old Lada car. They must have been good because the restaurant was sold out of desserts an hour later. All right, so the man in Siberia who does a twist on cooking on a hot sidewalk, he cooks on his frozen car hood. What was that? Frozen peanut butter pie. I've had that. That's a good thing. So what do you say, Karen? Can you cook on the hood of a frozen Lada? Real or bluff?
Where's the heat?
They're frozen desserts. I guess I'm someone who makes desserts. So
they're frozen
desserts.
desserts.
Yeah. Frozen desserts. Did I say that in there? Tasty frozen desserts.
Oh, I missed the frozen. Oh,
that's your problem.
it's so stupid that it must be right.
Oh, okay. There's one of the key strategies to the game. It's so stupid,
Yeah.
It must be right. Karen says it's real. John, how about you?
Yeah, I agree with Karen. I think it's real, and I think it's very plausible that somebody would do that. I mean, it's so cold in Russia for how long it is, and you know how bad the winter is there.
Yeah.
And if a person runs a restaurant, I would hope he knows, how to prepare food. So I'm going to say it's real.
So, but
Okay.
before you give us the answer,
Yes.
and I've already given my answer. I'm not changing it, but your lovely wife says it's fake because Ivan was Paul's nickname in college. So I think it's fake. Did you know that, John, that he was called Ivan?
No, you know what? I'm going to have to say, honestly, I didn't know that, or if I knew it, I forgot it.
That was my dorm name. I lived in the dorm, and the dorm guys called me Ivan. And then
Okay.
we can go. There's a whole story behind that we'll talk about someday.
Okay.
Sure.
So
we
the
say it's
lovely
true.
Donna.
So we say it's true, but your wife says it's fake.
She says it's fake. So we have two truths and a fake. I talked to Ivan myself, and Ivan said to me that this is a bluff. There's no such thing as cooking frozen desserts on the hood of a Lada. So sorry about that, John. And
Okay.
All right. Okay. We're starting off in the hole again. Okay.
I'll tell you, but this is just an aside for John. Our mutual friend Gus gave me that name.
He did. Okay.
You only know one Gus, so you know who I'm talking about.
I know exactly what you're speaking of. Okay, sure. Yeah, I know Gus. Okay.
Okay, so score 0-0. Let's move right on to story number 2, hands on the buzzers. It may sound like a Monty Python sketch, but a pet shop in the US had to put a sign in front of the cage of a yellow and green conure because customers were panicking when they saw the bird lying on its back and looking very dead. The sign reads, "Don't worry, I'm not dead, just dramatic." No one knows who taught the bird the trick of playing dead, but the pet shop was tired of the interruptions it was causing. The TikTok video of the dead bird racked up millions of views and plenty of warnings that pet conures are a handful, dead or alive. Okay, so the pet at the pet shop that pretends it's dead and had people panicking that it really was dead. What do you say, John? Real or bluff?
Well, I have a 50-50 chance of getting it right. So
That's better than 1 in 30 million. Okay.
well, exactly. So odds are in my favor. I'm going to say it's a bluff.
John says it's a bluff. Okay.
It's just too odd. It's just too odd of a story.
Okay. All right. Too odd. All right. Karen, how about you?
Well, I'm wearing my special shirt today that says professional overthinker. So
I know somebody else who could use one of those.
so
But go ahead. Overthink this one.
It's got to be fake.
Oh, so Karen says it's a bluff. And John says it's a bluff. Am I right?
That's yeah.
Yeah.
You both say it's a bluff. Okay, so let's check with the judges, and the judges say, sorry again, that's a real story.
No.
Google it.
Gosh.
Google it. Yep. Big sign in front of the and the conure looks really dead. And then all of a sudden he's running around.
Like whose idea was that, Paul, to do this though? I mean,
the
was
bird.
it was
No,
no, yeah, obviously. Oh, so the
bird wanted out. The bird wanted out. He didn't like the pet shop owner. He wanted this cute woman who came in. He wanted her to buy him. So he played dead, hoping that she'd feel sorry for him. Now, how's that?
Okay.
And now you know the rest of the story, Paul Harvey.
Well, wait a minute. So this pet shop owner, where's he going with this idea? That I mean, I know that's what I'm thinking. I just don't know.
Okay, well, I guarantee a true story. Okay, so let's take a look at the scoreboard here, and it's 0-0. Holy smoke. Well, points are doubled in round number 3, although that doesn't really matter since you're both tied at 0. Let's see who might win this week. Story number 3. If you miss going to the office after working at home during the pandemic, you must not live in Japan, where office managers are installing the latest thing in keeping employees at work, the nap box. The nap box looks like a space-age portable toilet or a giant water heater with a door. Once you are inside, it is so narrow that you're forced to stand up straight. Fortunately, there are padded platforms for knees, heads, and buttocks so that the employee doesn't fall over when they finally fall asleep in their nap. The nap box is designed to be used for only short power naps, anything more than 10 minutes, and the boss is allowed to bang on the door or shake the box until the worker comes out. Despite that, the nap box is in great demand in Japan, although requests for 2-person nap boxes have so far been denied. Okay, so the story from Japan, the nap box being installed in offices so people can take a standing up power nap for 10 minutes. What do you say, Karen and John? Real or bluff?
Well, I have to say it's real because Japan has some very different ideas on work days and the time you put into work.
Right.
And if I'm not mistaken, a lot of people in China and Japan, they live in what are called pods. And like they share these pods with other workers. So I'm going to say it's real.
Karen says it's real. Overthinking all the way through. It's
all
real.
the way through.
All right, John, how about you?
No, I concur. And I know what Karen's referring to because I think I've seen a documentary or two about that, about people in Japan working in close areas and, again, not having a lot of space for themselves. So I'm going to say it's true. And I pray that it is.
I have one question, as I always ask. John, would you take a nap in a nap box?
You know, if push comes to shove, yeah, I guess I would have to. Right?
And that's how we would get you in, pushing and shoving.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I wouldn't obviously like it, but I mean, it's like if you had to do, you had to do. If a man has to do what a man has to do, it's kind of one of those things.
There you go. Okay, we'll leave it at that. All right. So both Karen and John say that the nap box is a true story. Let's check with the judges. And the judges say, congratulations to both of you. That is a real story.
All right,
We
Karen.
tied. Yes.
Goodness, we got a tie. All right.
You didn't overthink that one, Karen. And
Yep.
we're leaving on a positive note here. So that's a good thing.
Leaving on a positive note with the emphasis on leaving. I think that's what we're going to do here with this show. So thank you to everyone who tuned in, except for those people that put that weird video up and drew on our picture.
Yeah, that was not nice.
yeah.
That was not nice.
Yes, we didn't appreciate that at all, but so we won't be doing that anymore. And I apologize to anyone who might have been offended by that. But anyways, it's what in the world. That's what you say when you see stuff like that. And also hear our stories. And I want to thank everybody who tuned in this week. All our friends that we mentioned before, any new listeners, thank you for joining us. I want to thank Karen Hale, our media mogul and co-host and producer of the show. Thank you, Karen. I hope no more emergencies. Thanks
No more. Nope.
Okay. I think we may be broadcasting on a different date next week, day of the week, but we will be here next week. And as always, thanks to my old friend JohnDiNallo for all you contribute to the show, color commentary, sports, and being an all-around good guy. Thank you.
You're very welcome, Paul and Karen. It's always fun to do the show.
All right. So thanks. Download us, podcast us, do all that good stuff, and we'll see you all next week.